This is the 19th T podcast. Kieran Marsh, Nathan Drudy, back with you for 2022. Drew, so great to have your company. I just want to say off the top that we're very fortunate to have Cam Smith win this week because unbeknownst to our listeners, we had made a pact. We said we're not coming back in 2022 until an Australian wins on the PGA Tour or the LPGA, European, Ladies European. Just an Australian victory was going to be the end of our self-imposed break, and lo and behold, Smithy gets it done in week one.
Yes, and I mean, what did we have? We had about 4 weeks of annual leave there, so very kind of the head of people and culture at the 19th Tee to grant us 4 weeks of leave without dipping into the annual leave. So very, very nice. The GM of people and culture. I don't know who that is yet, but
that probably sits on your side of the fence, I think.
Yeah.
People and culture, along with finances. Chief of operations. I don't really know what I'm the general manager. MD. That's exactly. I like that title. All care, no responsibility. Drudes, we will of course get to Cameron Smith's remarkable victory at the Century Tournament of Champions, the plantation course Kapalua in Hawaii. Gee, Smithy loves Hawaii, doesn't he?
Yes.
Doesn't mind starting his year on the island, does Cameron Smith. Plenty of other things to get to tonight. We're going to take a look ahead at 2022. And then later in the week, I want to flag up the top. We will have an episode dedicated to the Australian PGA Championship and the WPGA for that matter, the big event, the blue ribbon event of the Australian Summer getting underway later this week at Royal Queensland in my backyard. Tournament golf, Drudes, in my backyard. Would you believe it? So I'll be getting out there on Thursday, and we will have a dedicated preview coming up a little later in the week. So you won't hear anything on the Australian PGA or WPGA this evening. That will be a standalone episode on Thursday, but we should. I know you've got a few things to get to off the top, and I probably think I might need a beer for a few of them. So we're going to crack one open thanks to our great friends at Drudes Brewing Company, WA's premier brewery, named after the strip of ocean between Rottnest and Fremantle. Drew, so you're off to, speaking of our friends at Drudes, they're opening the doors on a new place, and you're off there next Monday evening.
Yes, got the invitation to the official opening of the Gage Roads. I think it's the brew pub is what they're calling it, down at the A Shed in Freo, which will be fantastic. So I'll head along and I'll report back on all the great things that our friends at Gage Roads are doing. But single fin for me tonight, KM. I assume you're still on the side tracks.
Am I ever? I'd be on them for the rest of my days if I could, Drewster. But the allocation is running short, so that might be high on the agenda of topics for you next Monday night. But speaking of topics,
yes.
why don't you round us off? I believe this is maybe a bit of housekeeping from over the summer break.
It is. So just a few things that we have happened in the past month, because it's been a big month that we've been off. First and foremost, got to get out in front of this and congratulate you and your beautiful wife on the birth of little Millie, a wonderful addition to your little family, just in time for Christmas as well, which was fantastic. So on behalf of myself and the listeners of this podcast, congratulations, KM. How's everything going?
Yeah, Drew, it's very well. Hopefully a wonderful addition to the LPGA in about 20 years' time.
Yes.
And so never too early. Grip's a little weak at the moment, but we're working on that.
Like her father's?
Yeah, exactly right. Well, I haven't managed to fix it in 30-odd years, so what hope does she have? No, fantastic, mate. We've been blessed once again with a dream baby. I touch wood. You don't like to say that out loud because things can change very quickly in the world of newborns, but no, she's a star so far, and yes, a lovely addition and a welcome addition to the Marsh family. So we continue to grow.
Yes, you certainly do. Just a couple other things I want to just tack on here.
Please.
I mean, in a world where, COVID's running rampant at the moment.
The cron, goodness me.
The cron, as you rightly called it. It's barbaric that in a world where there's so many cases. I mean, what do we have? I think I was reading today that we have a higher per capita infection rate than the US and the UK. So that's fun. That's exciting. In the US and the UK, though, the NFL playoffs beginning soon. My Tennessee Titans with the number 1 seed, which is nice. How did your fantasy team end up very quickly?
Yeah, Drewster. So playoffs concluded last week, and your boy came out on top.
Oh, what a turnaround.
One unbelievable turnaround. Did help that I had Jamar Chase in my team, who I don't know if you remember, set a new receiving record for the Cincinnati Bengals in the game against the Chiefs last week and scored 60 fantasy points in the process. So I was halfway there after that game. So, very, very good back end to the year. And my team ended up getting across the line for the Bickies. So, obviously, a lot of pride and a few dollars in the hip pocket as well, which is always good.
Well done. Oh, well, I had the man who was throwing the ball to him sitting on the bench.
Smoking Joe Burrow on your bench.
So that was good.
Good
anyway,
man management.
College football final on tomorrow, Alabama, Georgia. Very much looking forward to that. I think
just for something different, Alabama.
Yes,
Georgia.
Yeah, I think Bama's got this. I think Alabama's got it. They are currently underdogs, if you can believe that. So I'll be taking Alabama, and of course,
are they the Bulldogs, Georgia?
Yeah, they are the Bulldogs. The darts has been on KM. You've been tagging me. I mean, how good are these
data's
videos?
Coming out your ears, Drewster.
Unbelievable.
I got to say, I'm enjoying this new wave of darts talent. I must admit, it's been a couple of years since I've followed the PDC closely. And obviously a fair few new names coming through that I hadn't seen before until I stumbled across these 9-daters. Typically in the past, I found 9-data celebrations to be a little subdued.
Yes.
And not necessarily, I think, matching the level of achievement of a 9-dart performance. These new kids are loving it, getting right into the celebrations, and I'm here for it. So, I always love this time of year. If you don't follow the PDC on any of the social platforms, it's elite content. So, it's good stuff.
It always, every time I watch darts and every time you tag me in a 9-dart finish, I always have to go back and watch my favorite YouTube video of all time. Michael Van Gerwen's 17 perfect darts is one of the greatest videos on YouTube that will ever exist. It is truly phenomenal. Go and find it if you haven't seen it. The cricket, the Ashes, we've done a genuine number on the Poms.
Up and about, aren't we? It just it feels just feels good. I feel safe. Everything feels right again. That
it's
they
a really
come
good
over
term.
here.
Safe.
They come over here and we pillage them. Like it hasn't been close. It hasn't been contested, save for, of course, and hats off to them for a fantastic performance on day 5 in Sydney. For the most part, I think the tone was set on the opening ball of the series when Rory Burns is bowled around his legs by the guy that can't swing the ball. And it's just been phenomenal. I myself feel vindicated. The guy that I said should have played in Brisbane and got overlooked has just come off the back of twin tons in Sydney. And I swear to fuck, Drudes, if he doesn't play in Hobart, I'll riot. And if he doesn't open the batting for the 10 tests in Asia this year, I'll also riot.
Yes.
So, it's been great. The cricket's been excellent. And I keep coming back to that word. I just feel safe. Feels right.
Safe's a really good way to put it. And we have been so clinical. And I can't remember, not for a long time, feeling walking away from an Ashes series, even when we went to England and retained over there. Like I feel like this has just been so much more of a complete performance with the ball. I mean, you lose Hazelwood out of a team who's arguably the second best bowler in Test cricket, arguably, depending on where you want to sit.
I think he's low-key our best bowler. I love Hoff. He's probably my favourite of our quicks.
Outstanding. And then for Jai Richardson to come in and Michael Neser to come in and both take wickets, and then for Scott Boland to come in and do what he's done in 2 tests, it's just been phenomenal, right? Like we are so complete. And then even in the batting, all bar a couple, I mean, you probably put Harris in that sort of underperforming, but everyone else has just been so good. Like everyone has been really, really solid. And I feel every time a new batsman comes out, I'm not like, oh shit, like I'm not sure about this. And I for one, and I mentioned this in our preview of sort of the Ashes, was that we needed to stick with Cam Green. And I'm so glad that we did. And I'm sure you saw my tweet yesterday. And I did get a few responses from people not agreeing with me that he's underperformed with the bat. But anyone who gets the England captain out 3 times, I think, this series, deserves his spot. Joe
Yeah.
Root's been unbelievable this year. So
Do you know what I find fun? And we are digressing significantly. I promise we will get on to Cam.
that's okay.
Cam
This
Smith's
is
victory.
the recap of
Yeah,
last month.
we've had 4 weeks off, so we've got there's a bit of recapping at the top. What I find really funny about the Cam Green conversation, let me preface this by saying, kid's a unicorn. Like, he's an absolute unicorn, and he will be in the team for 10 years. He may well be the next captain, and that's a huge burden to put on his shoulders this early. But some amazing numbers inside his first 10 tests. I love the his batting's been a bit scratchy. He's an all-rounder.
He's not there to average 50.
Yes, the batting has been a little scratchy, no doubt, and batted quite well for his best performance with the bat of the summer in Sydney. It's not as if he hasn't been bowling well to make up for it.
Exactly.
He's been bowling heat, like mid-140s, and been getting some big wickets in crucial moments. He's an all-fucking rounder, guys. He's not like, if he fails at one, that's okay, because he has literally an entire other discipline that we can fall back on.
Yep.
We have made a conscious decision that we're going to play an all-rounder, so you don't get to bitch and moan about the fact that we're missing out on runs at 6.
Yeah.
Or that we're missing out on wickets, because we've made a decision to back the kid in, and he's a generational talent.
Yeah.
And we're going to go through periods where he doesn't take wickets either.
Absolutely.
So you just going to
well, before this series, he hadn't.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Like,
also,
we don't need him to make runs either.
Just quietly, guys, averages in the 50s, batting at 4 for WA Shield cricket. So can bat.
Yeah.
Can we just chill? Can we just chill? Do you know what?
We get very defensive of the West Australians.
You and the remainder of the state. I spent 3 years there and I get defensive.
Yeah.
What I'll also love is that when we win, right, I love where our attention turns, because it papers over a lot of things, right? So Marcus Harris, unfortunately for himself, has probably copped the brunt of you've underperformed. And I got to say, like, has he looked better in Sydney and Melbourne? Of course he has, Drudes. Is that acceptable just to look better? No, it's not, because he's had a myriad of chances now, and Usman Khawaja managed to do something in one innings, i.e. go past 80, that Marcus Harris hasn't done in his test career, and then went on to compile 240, best part of 240 runs for the test match. So Marcus Harris, bye-bye. But there are other things, like Marnus hasn't been great. Marnus had his ton early in this in the series, but Mark Wood's had his number the last couple of tests. Alex Carey took 8 catches in Brisbane and has been woeful, really, in my opinion, behind the stump since. But winning papers over everything, except for the really weird things that people choose to zone in on, and that's Cameron Green's batting. So it's all right. No one's talking about Alex Carey. No one's talking about Marnus has had a quiet series.
Steve Smith's been quiet.
Yeah, but geez, Green's batting's average, guys. I mean, we're 3-0 up. We're probably going to be 4-0 by the end of Hobart, but geez, we need to focus in on Greeny's batting. It's just weird what people focus in on. I truly find it phenomenal.
The one thing that I will say on the Marcus Harris piece is I am glad they gave him 4 shots at it, as if because we spoke about this earlier, was that what we've traditionally done is 1 test, 2 tests, made no runs. See you later.
They did to Rory Burns.
And it's not the way that you build a team. And yes, he certainly looked better. And if they pick him in Hobart, I think there'll be a lot of backlash about it. If Khawaja's going to be the opening batsman, like, that's it. We need to make that call now, that he is the opening batsman and he's the opening batsman moving forward. And how good is that top order then? Of Warner, Khawaja, Labuschagne, Smith. Like, that's a scary good top 4.
Yeah. No, I completely agree, and I think Usman has to be, because I think he will be in Pakistan at the beginning of March. So if he's going to be the opener in Pakistan, why would he not open in Hobart? It would just seem stupid. I know people say I'm a bit of a Queensland homer. The guy's from Sydney. He plays for Queensland, but he's not a Queenslander. I just ride for good fucking players.
Yeah. And
the reality is, the last time he opened against Pakistan, he averaged in the 70s, including one of the greatest innings I've ever seen. In an absolute dust bowl in the UAE. And that's all we're going to get, right? We're going to go to Karachi and we're getting an absolute dust bowl. Yeah. And we're going to get that for 9 tests. We've got tests against India, tests against Sri Lanka, all the way next year. Like, you think we've got our chests out at the moment? We absolutely do, because we're playing on rock hard pitches where Kerry's taking around his shoulders. we're a lot of vulnerabilities are going to get shown up in Asia across 9 tests, and we need to take guys who've performed there in the past. So that'll be Usman at the top, and he should be opening the back end of this week in Hobart.
I agree. Last thing that happened was just the longest day.
Yeah, last thing that happens, you walked 72 holes. No biggie.
Must shout out everyone. I know there's a lot of people that we haven't that I haven't reached out to individually, and I will certainly do so. But the donation lines are still open, so if anyone's keen to donate, can do so. But a massive thanks to everyone who's donated. I think we've cracked $4,000 now, so we've gone past our $3,000 target, which has been phenomenal. And so it was a ripping day of 72 holes. We teed off at 5:30. We finished our first 18 by 7:30. So that was great. 18 holes of golf in 2 hours with 3 people was something that I like. I really enjoy that pace of play. And then we just kind of got held up rounds 2 and 3 as to be expected. And round 4, we flew
when
through.
There were other people on the course.
Yeah, rude. But no, it was a great day. And Clark and the team at the City of Stirling were just phenomenal for us and came down and took some snaps. And it was a belter of a day for a great cause, and had a couple of elderly ladies catch up to us on the second tee as we were waiting on the first tee, of our second round as we were waiting to tee off. And she said, I hear you're playing for the Cancer Council today. I was a cancer nurse for 40 years, and pulled out a pineapple out of her pocket and gave it to us in cash. So I came home and made the donation on behalf of her. So just little things like that were fantastic. Only lost 2 balls all day, so that was significant
effort.
And shout out to Nick, who played with us, did not lose a ball in 72 holes.
See that.
That is
remarkable.
Truly incredible. Any West Australians listening that have played at Hammersley Golf Course will know that that is not an easy feat to do for 9 holes. So for 72 holes, did very well. So Braden held the team up scoring wise. I think he had 6 birdies on the final 18 holes. So that was pretty handy. But it was a ripping day, and I hope hopefully this year KM with border restrictions, etc., we might be able to do it together.
Yeah, I'd really
somewhere
like
in
that.
the middle, maybe in South Australia. Who knows?
I'd really like that. I'm certainly having watched vicariously and played vicariously through you. I'm keen to absolutely sign up. We did have a competition game, Drudes, obviously, that we launched courtesy of our great mates at Sure Shot.
Yes,
the competition was to obviously make a donation to the cause, and thank you to those people who entered and did so, but also to predict your gross score over 72 holes. It had to be nearest to without going over.
Yes.
So what was your score?
402.
402.
Which I was, to be honest,
Yeah,
I was pretty happy with.
Thrilled.
402.
To be honest.
So yeah, look, it was I was pretty happy. So the winner of the Sure Shot laser, funnily enough, was a person quite close to this podcast I've played golf with many times, was actually Bevan Jones, who said 380, closest without going over. So
good on you, Bev.
I will organise that little laser to be dropped off to Bevan when I can.
Congratulations to Bevan Jones. One thing the final thing I want to say, on the longest day. So shortly after, a few short days after yours, I was interested to note on Instagram. Of course, I follow the account of the Arrowtown Golf Club. Loyal listeners to this program may have heard me mention it once or twice.
Couple of times.
So there was a group of members at the Arrowtown Golf Club who did the longest day in New Zealand.
Right.
They did theirs at Arrowtown, into Jack's Point, into Millbrook, into the Hills, which is owned by Michael Hill, the jeweler, incredibly private course in Queenstown. Interesting though, 100 holes in New Zealand.
Wow.
So the longest day in NZ is 100 holes. So I want to put this to you. Could you picture yourself doing another 28 after you finish?
Yes. I wasn't as knackered as I thought I was going to be. We walked 36 Ks. I wasn't as cooked as I thought I was going to be. The only thing that would shit me about playing 100 holes is that you're not finishing on an even number of rounds.
You're playing 25 holes at each course. It's a bit weird.
Yeah, like the fact that you play another 18, that's fine.
Yeah.
But then you've got to play another 8 holes like that. No, that's not for me. 10 holes or whatever the number is.
Worse places in the world to play an additional 8 holes than Arrowtown, Jacks Point, Millbrook, and the Hills.
I agree.
But yeah, it was interesting to know. It kind of shocked me a little bit. I was like, what do you mean 100 holes? Why are you doing an extra 28? What's going on?
Just to be better than the Australians. I did see some groups do it in the Sandbelt region where I think they played like Kingston Heath and Peninsula Kingswood and Royal Melbourne. So
sounds shit, yes. Why would you
horrible.
Want to do that? Right. We should probably talk a bit of golf.
So what was that? That was about 20 minutes of bullshit at the top.
It's good.
Welcome to 2022 where nothing has changed.
We may have taken a break, but things are exactly as you left them in late 2021. Cameron Smith, Drewster, is a winner on the PGA Tour for the 4th time now in his career, in taking home a remarkable looking trophy at the Century Tournament of Champions, the Plantation Course at Kapalua. He also set a new scoring record in PGA Tour history. 34 under is the lowest score to par in the history of the PGA Tour. Ironically, it was a record previously held by Ernie Els, who did it also at the Century Tournament of Champions in 2003. Now, a wonderful stat, Drudes, is that Matt Jones, the Aussie who finished in 3rd, he broke it first. Because he was first into the clubhouse at 32 under. Then John Rahm broke it when he drilled his birdie putt to go to 33. And then Smithy did it. So 3 people broke the record in about 12 minutes. And I saw a great tweet from Justin Ray. There's something on the lines of from 1950 through to 2021, there's only one player who's scored better than 30 under, and that was Ernie Els. 3 people did it today in 2022. I think it says more about the course, and we'll get to that a little later than anything else, but remarkable scoring from Cameron Smith, particularly staring down the barrel of the world number 1 and John Rahm, or Ram, as I heard an ABC radio news presenter refer to him today as if he had some sort of fucking hard drive storage. In his last name,
the Ute.
Yeah, that's right.
Ram, that's a good metaphor for him, the Ram Ute.
Smithy was not just today, but across the course of the 4 rounds, remarkable when you consider it's his first tournament out the gate for the year.
He was. I caught a bit of this because very friendly time zone out of Hawaii, out of Maui. Yeah, I mean, just a really impressive performance. And I think the thing that stuck out to me was the point that you mentioned just there. Today, it would have been really easy to go to water playing alongside John Rahm. And the presence that he has, that he comes with, being the world number 1, and the way that we know that he can strike a ball, there is no doubt in my mind, and you know, you can disagree with me on this if you like, but John Rahm is a better golfer than Cam Smith. And it would have been really easy for Cam Smith to get overawed by that situation today. And I think it showed a massive level of maturity for him and a real step forward for his career. It's undoubtedly his best win of his career today. You know, even to stand over that sort of 3.5 foot putt to win the tournament, you know, Rahm was in the clubhouse at 33. Just having sunk his putt a moment ago, and then Smith still had to tap in a 3.5 footer. Like it's not an easy putt to be standing over.
We've seen plenty of those missed.
Absolutely. So it was a real pleasure watching him actually play, and it seemed like a very mature performance from him. Some of those mistakes I think that we touched on last year that we say, should he have really played that shot? You know, what was being said, what was the conversation? I felt like that he was a lot more in control today. And really pleasing start, not just for Cam Smith, but for all the Aussies as well. You know, 4 in the top 10 is a massive tick in the right box for Australian golf to start the year.
Yeah, absolutely. I won't disagree with your point. I'll put one caveat on your statement that John Rahm is a better golfer than Cameron Smith. I think in all bar scrap and scramble and fight,
Yeah.
I don't know that there's a better player.
Is he a
strokes.
classier golfer than Cam Smith?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe that's a better word. That's what I was looking for.
Cam's roughness around the edges is a great a great part of the reason we love him so much.
Absolutely. Yeah.
He's not polished. He's not perfect. He's quintessentially Australian, I think, and he takes that to the PGA Tour and doesn't change, and that's what we love. But loves a fight, loves to scramble, loves to get himself out of difficult positions, and in many respects, I think that benefited him today because I think, to your point, other players would have wilted.
Yeah.
Rahm's a big presence, metaphorically, but also just literally. I think he's got bigger. He was popping out of his shirts the last 4 days. So I don't know if that's, I was going to say, I don't know if that's just a good paddock over Christmas or he's consciously putting on a bit more bulk, but he is an imposing figure and he brings an aura and a presence, and lesser players would have wilted. But I actually think it's situations like that sees Smith thrive. So I think it held him in good stead today. I must admit, I was a little nervous on 18 today, and you'll forgive me because the name of the tournament is not top of my mind, but there was a tournament you'll remember last year where he was in a similar position. I think he might have been one shot behind though, or it was even, and on 18 and he sprayed a drive right on the 72nd hole.
Yeah, I do know the one you're talking about, but it's also...
Yeah, and so I got a little bit nervous today there watching 18, but he absolutely piped that drive and did everything he needed to do. I completely agree it's his best win of his career to date. Not just the ridiculous score, but also I think the circumstance of who he went head-to-head with in the final round and ended up doing it fairly comfortably. Rahm pushed him at times, there's no doubt about that. But for the most part, he remained in almost complete control of his golf ball, and that for the first tournament of the year is super impressive.
Yeah, no doubt. As it was for the rest of the Aussies as well. I mean, Matt Jones was very impressive. JT setting, I think it was course record yesterday, 61, which was tied by John Rahm as well, I believe, in the third round, and then Matt Jones goes out and levels it today as well. So. That was uber impressive. He's actually got my short shot of the week, does Matt Jones, which was the hole out today. I think it was a 2 on 13. That was I don't know. That was just a belter of a shot. Very closely followed by Cam Smith's drive at 14. Is that the drivable par 4? 14, I think. So what's your take on the Aussies? I guess Cam Davis finishing at T10 alongside Marc Leishman with 23 under par, which is just absurd to be saying. Now, what's your take on the rest of the Aussies as well?
Yeah, look, and I'll get in front of this. I think I said Cam Davis earlier, and I meant Matt Jones, of course. I got that wrong. I think when I was talking about the scoring record. But look, the performance from Matty Jones, Drudes, like, I don't know if you saw this, 9 under through 36 holes. The first 36, there's a Friday 23 under through the last 36.
Incredible.
It's the 36 hole scoring record now in PGA Tour history, 23 under. So his Saturday, Sunday, absolutely incredible. And he's like, I think, obviously a winner previously on the PGA Tour, but, he's the type of guy, Cam Davis is one of these for that matter, who the great majority of American fans would be like, who the fuck's this guy? But I think that speaks volumes of his ability to continue to perform whilst also flying pretty low under the radar. I think, to your point, the Australians this week were great. It's just it's a nice way for us to start the year. Like, you cast your mind back to not necessarily this time last year, but the beginning of last year, we went through a purple patch. Right. I felt like we were ringing the bell every week, primarily because we were. And this has a little bit of a feeling as though the guys have turned up to play. And that's maybe not necessarily, say, for last year being the experience. We've generally warmed into it and taken a little while. I also think it speaks volumes to the depth now. So we're getting to a point, and there's plenty of guys who weren't involved in this tournament as well, but we're getting to a point now with that next wave coming through, like your Cam Davis is finally finding his feet on the PGA Tour. Lucas Herbert's obviously a winner there, but will now have a little bit more consistency in terms of appearances and performance. I think Minwoo Lee's banging on the door. He obviously received his Masters invitation over the break there as well, being in the top 50 in the world now. So I just think it speaks to the depth. And I think that we are in both the men's and women's side of the game. Drudes in for a great 2022, to be honest. And this was a fantastic start at Kapalua for the men.
Is there, I guess, the question is, can an Aussie win a major this year? I think the answer is undoubtedly yes. There's no doubt that they can. But prediction, balls to the wall, does an Aussie win a major this year? And if so, who is it and which one do they win?
No.
Yeah.
If it is, it will only be Cam Smith. And if he does, I think his best chance might actually be St Andrews.
It's an interesting discussion to have, and probably not one to hugely get in on this, because we took up 25 minutes at the top talking about fucking cricket. But I agree with you. I think, I hope I'm wrong, but I think it's a massive challenge to go from winning on the PGA Tour to then winning a major championship. And you look at the guys who are going to compete for those majors. You're talking about your Morikawas, Brooks Koepka's always going to be there. Like you rattle off 10, 15 names. Even though Cam Smith is now ranked 10th in the world, it still feels a step away. And that's complete. That's wrong. That's a wrong way that we should be thinking, because he's definitely asserted himself as one of the best in the world. I don't know. I think that, Jesus, it's really hard as to which one I think they could, which one they think they could win. Country Club at Brookline could be one for Smithy, potentially. I don't know, like Southern Hills out in Oklahoma. Southern Hills, could be completely wrong there, but that could be another one. Like it is very difficult, but I think we're in agreement that if it's going to be anyone, it's going to be Cameron Smith.
Yeah, I think so. The way I assess it is I think Smithy's the best placed Aussie to win a major. I think I don't see it for Scotty. I definitely don't see it for Jason Day. Leish is a bit of an unknown. I don't necessarily know that his body was right last year, but geez, he started well. I mean, also likes Hawaii, so that helps. But he started well, and then I just don't see it's too much of a chasm for the rest of the group, I think, to make that step up to win a major this year. So for that reason, I think it is Cam Smith. And so then I look at the courses, right? And I really don't like either of Southern Hills or Brookline for him. And that's, of course, the venues for the PGA and the US Open, respectively. So I comparatively, I don't, when he's up against other guys in the field, particularly guys who hit the ball longer than he does, which is a trait of both US Opens and PGA Championships. I don't like either of those two courses. So now it's like the 50-50 and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Get rid of those two, thanks, Ed. And now we're down to Augusta, where he's played very well in the past. And I would not rule that out at all. But I think maybe St Andrews, which is a great leveler, right? And your touch there is more important than anything else. Yeah. And his touch, I think, is one of his great assets. I mean, his work with the putter this week was remarkable. I think I saw a stat, only the second player in history to lead both strokes gained off the tee and strokes gained putting in a victory week. The other was Bryson DeChambeau in 2020. So you can forgive many things to start the year slowly, but if you're coming out the gate with your wedges and your putter working well, I think that bodes very well for the remainder of the year. And his putting was phenomenal this week. Yeah, I think it was the difference. I think it's why he won the tournament. And it's also my short of the week was his putt today on 8, a big 40-footer that put a 2-shot buffer between him and Rahm, which psychologically going into the back 9 was enormous, I think, for him. So I think that around St Andrews, maybe the soft touch with the hands might do him the world of good. Now, there's plenty of other players who've got that, and there's plenty of other players who set up well for St Andrews. Marc Leishman sets up well for St Andrews. Grew up playing links golf and loves playing links golf. So I think that there's opportunity there, but I just think it's narrowed down purely based on location of a couple of these majors this year.
See, I'm sitting in the other camp. This is interesting, and it's good. It's a good start to the year that we're sitting on the other side. The only reason I say either Southern Hills or Brookline is that has the potential to be softer than Augusta or St. Andrews. The weather dependent. I think the weather plays a massive role in Cam Smith's ability to compete in some of the majors. That Masters tournament that you mentioned before, where he competed, was the one played in November, where it pissed down with rain, right? And shot 27 under, right? Very similar conditions to this week at Kapalua, right? If it rains at Brookline, if it rains for Southern Hills, and I must admit, I'm not a weather aficionado on either of those locations. If it's soft, I reckon that massively brings it in. Unlikely it's going to be soft at the Masters, maybe, but I think where the conditions will suit Cam Smith is where he has the best opportunity to hoist the trophy. All in all, I agree with you that I don't think it's going to be this year for any Australian, and I hope we're both wrong. That would be nice. Anything? What else have you got from Century? Anything else?
I just want to talk about the course. Yeah. So we can get excited, and we do get excited, and she'll get excited. I mean, you can only play what's in front of you, right? And I want to get out in front of this and say this fortnight. So Kapalua into Wailai Country Club for the Sony is amongst my favourite fortnights of the year. I love these two tournaments, and I love the fact that we start the year there. In general, I probably prefer the West Coast swing over the East Coast as a rule, but if I narrow it down to back-to-back weeks, there's not too many that stack up. You know, there's certain tournaments I love. I love the Genesis at Riviera. I love Arnold Palmer's tournament. I love when we go up to Jack's place at Muirfield Village, but they're in isolation. This is a back-to-back fortnight. Is awesome. In saying all of that, 34 under is a fucking joke.
Yeah.
Like, that is ridiculous. There is a reason why in the period of time between 1950 and 2021, only one person had done that. And there is a reason why 3 people did it this week. You know, that course, I don't think the winds got up above 10 miles an hour this week. And when it's like that, it's game over. Like, the only defense to that course is the fact it's so fucking open on the Pacific Ocean, right? That's the only defense to that course. Yeah. You throw in the fact that it's still and it's rained.
Yeah. And we're playing preferred lies.
Oh, and this, Drudes, this got me. And this,
oh boy,
I shouldn't have been surprised. It was like we knew it was back. I said I felt safe before about the Ashes. I felt safe when I read the tweet from PJ Tour Communications ahead of the first round that because of the conditions we're playing preferred lie. Like, God forbid that have to hit out of a bit of a bit of water. Sidebar, very quickly, I was watching a movie the other night. Don't know if you've ever seen it, called The Greatest Game Ever Played. Fantastic Walt Disney movie. It's the true story of Francis Ouimet, who is the first amateur to ever win the US Open. Funnily enough, at the Brookline Country Club, where it will go this year. So back in 1916, it was early 1900s. And there is a scene there. One of the rounds was played in torrential rain. And you fast forward 100 years and see how much they get. Like, we're out at Hawaii. It is still. There's been a little bit of rain. So, boys, just pick it up. Pick it up and just tee it up there. And then also a bit of grass. You'd be sweet. Like, God forbid that have to be under any duress to play their shot.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at, right? Is that when that course is defenseless because it has no wind, we're going to make it even easier for you because we wouldn't want you to get your pants dirty hitting out of a bit of a puddle.
It was. We are very lucky. Our listeners are very lucky that Cameron Smith won this tournament, because we would have spent the past 25 minutes waxing lyrical about how bullshit this course and the setup and the preferred lies and all of that crap was, because it was. If you look at it on face value, 34 under And for runners up to be 33 and 32 under, the Aussies were a combined 108 under or something this week. Like, that is farcical. Like, I don't care if you are the most dinky-die Australian that's ever lived. You cannot look at that today and go, gee, that's the sort of golf that I want to watch. Like, there was no test of adversity today. There was a test of skill. Yes, you still need to execute the shots, but oh my God, like it was ridiculous. Some of those wedge shots were just, would grab and just spin. Like, it had nothing going for it. And it's really disappointing because the course itself looks immaculate and stunning. And I think in the right conditions, to your point, when the wind's up and it hasn't been raining, it could be a really interesting test of golf, and you would see scores around the 10 under par winning. But for 34 under to be the victory, the victor's score, like it just got boring at points. Like and not boring from a. It was quite contradictory because the actual golf was quite exciting. The battle between Smith and Rahm and then Jones coming into it, that was very exciting. But it was purely a matter of who could hit their wedges the best. Well, that's all it was. And like, that's not the sort of golf that I particularly want to watch. And I know that's the same for you.
Yeah, not at all. And I think, I mean, you made the point that we're lucky Cam Smith was in contention. I agree. Had he not been, they were just lucky that there were two people in contention, right? That Rahm and Smith had put a gap of 4 or 5 shots on the field as opposed to just one of them. Because if it was just one of them out in front, that would have been terribly boring today.
Great.
So, yeah, I think the PGA Tour got lucky more than anything else because it's a beautiful course. But as I said, without the wind, it's defenseless, and you can't, in that circumstance, go on and make it easier. We should mention Lucas Herbert was the other Aussie in the field. He finished in 37th at 8 under. Drudes, so just briefly and finally for me, from the Century Tournament champions, was there anyone you particularly liked other than, say, the winner, or even the top 3? Because obviously we've given most amount of our time there to Smith, Rahm, and Jones, but I'm loath to say that, you know, you rule anyone out based on the first tournament of the year. People are allowed to have a slow start. But I also like to think that you see some glimpses maybe from some people considering it's the first tournament of the year, that might, be a forward predictor to some form this year. So is there anyone in particular that you did like this weekend?
Yeah, I thought Colin Morikawa was scary. That was
11 under today, just to finish the tournament, just a casual 11 under.
Yeah, that was scary for a guy that didn't particularly seem like he gave a shit about the tournament. So that scared me. The guy that I think has a big year ahead of him, who I think we definitely sleep on consistently, is Daniel Berger. Like, again, finishing T5, I know a long way back from Cam Smith, but consistent, 3 rounds of 66 and a 69 today. Like, didn't have any of those big 8, 9 under rounds, but if he's able to do that consistently throughout the year, he's a guy that I think has a massive 2022. Xander's putter kind of got me nodding a couple of times. Like, he had that sort of rolling. Other than that, nothing really jumped out at me. I mean, there's guys that are down the bottom of the list that I'm sitting here going, it doesn't concern me that they finished down here. Tony Finau's a guy, finished at 19 under. Jordan Spieth at 18 under. Like, none of those guys, it doesn't concern me that they finished, so far back from the leader. But on the contrary, some of those guys, Morikawa, Berger, and Shawfley, I thought were really impressive. So, were there any? What about on your end?
Couple for me. Great to see Sung Jae.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously he fell back to 24 under at T8, but there was a period of time where he was contesting this week. He's obviously won already this year, and he had a period in the wilderness, did Sung Jae, but I think he is a phenomenal talent, that guy, and it's really good to see. One of my favourite players to watch when he's on, and it's great to see him back in a little bit of form. I also think it bodes well for the international team's chances at the President's Cup. Is it
Quail Hollow?
Quail Hollow. I wanted to say Shadow Creek. It's Quail Hollow. A little later this year, which we'll touch on briefly in a moment. But I'd love to see Sungjae there. Two others. Pat Cantlay in fourth. I don't like giving ultimatums to a guy that doesn't know who I am, but this feels like a little bit of a shit or get off the pot year for Pat Cantlay. I think it's the type of year we're going to find out, are you a serious player or are you a guy who's going to amass maybe 5 or 6 PGA Tour wins in his career? And that's nothing to be ashamed of at all. There's plenty of people who've never done that. But he has the potential to be a major winner and I think a multiple times major winner. But we haven't seen him do it at big tournaments. And I want to see that this year. He's got 4 opportunities. I think, conversely to Smithy, I think both Brookline and Southern Hills set up pretty well for Pat Cantlay.
Agree.
So I want to see something from him this year. It's good to see him start well. The other's JT. So similar. He's obviously won a major previously, but the big year has been coming for like 3 or 4 years now, right? He was 1 over through the first round of this tournament. There was only 4 other rounds over par in the 4 days of competition from the entire field, apart from his 1 over on the first day. And he went on to finish in outright 5th, I think.
Yep.
So at 25 under maybe?
Something like that.
26, after having started the first round at 1 over. So as you flagged, he broke the course record, set a 61, which was then equaled by John Rahm a day later. So I think that he has started well. What I want to see, as I said, and there you go. I've just given away 2 majors because I want to see Pat Cantlay. I want to see Justin Thomas win one. So, and obviously I want to see Jordan Spieth win at Augusta. So it really only leaves St Andrews, I think, as
which
the
Cam
unknown
Smith's
for me.
winning.
Yeah, which Cam Smith's winning. So there you go. You've got my 4 predictions for the year. But JT was good this week, I thought, and I think that he may well be building to an impressive 2022.
He still strikes me as the guy that needs a kick up the arse to get going.
Yep.
Like coming out of the blocks of the 74 to then go on and shoot a 61. It's just not acceptable for a guy in the top 5 in the world.
Nope.
It's like with Rory, we've said it time and time again. If he started the first round well, how many times would he have won in the past little while? JT always seems to have just one round that hurts him. And we're being incredibly harsh on a guy who's won many times on the PGA Tour and is one of the best golfers in the world. But I certainly agree with your point. Anything else from the century before we just quickly...
Just briefly on JT, the person to potentially give him that kick up the arse is the person he now has on the bag, and that is Bones.
Yeah, that's true.
Phil Mickelson's former caddy and an exceptional broadcaster in his own right in the last couple of years on the golf broadcast. Bones can't hit the shots for him, but do not underestimate the value of that change to his caddy. I think that the amount of experience he's had winning with Phil is invaluable, and what he'll bring, walking side by side with Justin Thomas now, I think might be that additional percent that he needs. So I do expect him to have, not going to say he's going to win majors this year, but I do expect him to have a good year because I think things will start to click for him. Nothing else for me at the tournament.
Okay. Well, we were going to sort of touch on most of the majors, which we've sort of done that already, but for everyone's benefit, Masters tournament, April 7th to 10th, of course, at Augusta National. The PGA Championship is the next one, May 19 to 22 at Southern Hills Country Club in Tulsa. US Open is, of course, at the Country Club of Brookline, June 16 to 19, and then the Open Championship, July 14 to 17 at the Old Course St. Andrews. That was all we really wanted to call out from there. The only other one was the President's Cup is on this year, KM, at Quail Hollow, as you rightly alluded to, the 20th to the 25th of September. What's your quick thoughts? Obviously a good start to the, wraparound season for the international team. What's your thoughts?
I think off the top of my head, the international team shapes an awful lot better than the European team did. And for the first time, this may well be a more entertaining and a more competitive contest than its Ryder Cup predecessor the year prior. It's often been the poor cousin of the Ryder Cup, to the extent at which people in recent years have mooted playing with the format to breathe new life into it. But I think it got the prod it needed at Royal Melbourne. I think that breathed a new bit of life into it. I think a big part of that was Ernie Els as the captain, and he has handed off to his countryman and his vice captain from 2019, and Trevor Immelman, who's incredibly involved. And I just think there's depth, Drudes. I mean, remarkable depth. When you look around the world at the quality that's coming out of Canada with Mackenzie Hughes and Corey Connors, you look at the depth that's coming out of South Africa with, Garrick Higo, Wilco Nienaber. You've got Eric Van Rooyen, and you've got guys coming out of Asia, and then of course the Australian talent. I mean, I know that Immelman, I've seen tweet most recently about both Lucas Herbert and Minwoo Lee, who find themselves in the top 50 of the world at the moment. So there's a deep team, I think, for him to select from, which I think has not necessarily been the case in the past. So don't get me wrong, Quail Hollow will be set up to within an inch of itself to favour the Americans, but as Royal Melbourne was for us. Us being the internationals, obviously us, but it excites me. I think it's going to be a really good tournament, and I think if they prepare in the way that I expect Trevor Immelman to prepare them, that they'll give it a shake. I wouldn't exactly expect it to go like 2019. I think we'll fly out to a massive lead and then be mowed down. I think it'll be a little bit more topsy-turvy, bit of a seesaw. But I'm really excited about it because I think it's going to be a cracking. And anytime we see team golf, obviously, I'm for it. But I think it's going to be a cracking tournament.
Current standings, as per the President's Cup website. Not sure if this is updated following Cam Smith's win, but the top 8 per the website: Sung J M, Cameron Smith, Louis Oosthuizen, Abe Ansah, Hideki Matsuyama, Mackenzie Hughes, Eric Van Rooyen, Marc Leishman. I think that's a pretty strong top 8, with then the following players in 9 downwards: Adam Scott, Corey Connors, Carlos Ortiz, Johnny Vegas, Mito Pereira, Sebastian Munoz, Siwoo Kim, CD Pan, Danny Lee, Lucas Herbert. So that's down to 18. Christian Bezadenhout's not far behind. Joaquin Neiman's not too far. Minwoo Lee's in 27th. I think I'm certainly excited by it. I mean, it's going to be a massive challenge for the internationals to go over there. Like, I don't think we can shy away from that. Do we win it? I don't think so. But do we give it a red hot crack? Absolutely. I think there'll be some matches that will certainly give the US team a bit of a shake. I mean, they're looking at their top 8 players: Morikawa, Burns, Thomas, Gooch, Kokrak, Scheffler, DeChambeau, Cantlay, Homer, Reed, Wolf, English, Johnson, Shawfley, Tringali, Finau, McNeely, Spieth, Simpson, Berger, Koepka. I mean, like, the names just keep going. So incredibly stacked. Going to be very exciting. Do we win it? Probably not. But
you tell me which one of those people is going to beat CTP in a singles game. You tell me.
Probably all 8 of them. So,
it's fascinating, right? It will be an absolute mountain to climb. There's no doubt about that. I think we'll get an indication from the selection table, right? Because there'll be 8 that take care of themselves, and that will change a fair bit between now and when the team's selected. Obviously, we're getting to the crux of the PGA Tour season. Those points start to move. I think Trevor Immelman will send a message with the 4 that he selects.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? Even down to like the 9th name you read there was Adam Scott.
Yeah.
Now, personally, I don't think Adam Scott has a place in this team.
I agree.
Adam Scott has a place as the vice captain, standing next to Trevor Immelman. He's one of the most experienced President's Cup players there is. But I don't, if they are serious about going into Quail Hollow and winning, Adam Scott does not have a playing spot in this team. So it will be very interesting to see, and I think we'll get a clear indication from Immelman about how this team will perform in the direction they'll take by his 4 captain selections.
Yeah, I agree. I certainly agree. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how he sort of takes over the mantle from Ernie Els. And and what that bodes for the international team. But as I said, significant challenge to go over to Quail Hollow and beat the Americans on their home soil for the first time.
Drudes, so just briefly as well, if we're looking forward to 2022 women's majors, important to note. So the ANA Inspiration will be played at the Mission Hills Country Club in California, dates TBA, and that's going to be the case on a few of these. I think that the women's schedule is a little bit more fluid when it comes to the majors. So expect them to be confirmed, in the very near future. They don't let it go too long, but it's working around a few other logistical issues. So the ANA Inspiration at Mission Hills Country Club in California, the US Women's Open is at Pine Needles, which will be sick in North Carolina from the 2nd to the 5th of June. The Kpmg Women's PGA Championship is at Congressional's Blue Course, also fantastic. TBA on dates there. The Evian Championship is at the Evian Resort Golf Club in France, as it always is. And the AIG Women's British Open, Muirfield in Scotland, also dates TBA. So a couple of great courses there. Muirfield's fantastic. Pine Needles is unreal. And I'm looking forward to watching, obviously, primarily Hannah Green and obviously Minjee Lee, who will lead, again, our cause, but, plenty of others there. Suo had a great year on the LPGA last year, and then there's a couple of people.
Kiriakou, first year.
About to mention Steph Kiriakou there picking up her card for the first time. So plenty of eyes will be on that from an Australian perspective for the women as well coming in 2022.
Absolutely, they will be. I think that's it.
That's probably it, my friend. It's been good. Thank you for your patience for those who stuck through the first 20 minutes of housekeeping. Obviously, that's what happens when you take a break for 4 weeks. A few things to catch up on. Yeah. Thank you to Gage Rhodes. As always, thank you to our good friends as well at Sure Shot, and to the others who you've heard from throughout the podcast. And we will be back later in the week. So flagged at the top, we've not mentioned a thing about the Australian PGA or WPGA tonight. That's because we'll have a dedicated episode later in the week to look at those two tournaments. The blue ribbon events on the Australian calendar right here in Queensland, Royal Queensland Golf Club, getting underway later this week. So stay tuned Thursday for a dedicated preview episode of those tournaments. Great to have your company, Drudes. Thank you for your kind words about the latest addition to the Marsh clan earlier. Congratulations again for getting through 72 holes, and I'm looking forward to a bumper 2022 for the 19th tee.